Hi guys. So we talked a lot about slope in terms of just finding it from 2 points or finding it by looking at a graph. And you know that slope is representing the steepness of a line. Now we want to kind of put it all together and look at how this connects to word problems or real life and just how it connects to rate of change in general. So if you take a look at this problem, it says that an airplane is traveling at a constant speed of 6 miles per minute. Make a table to show the distance traveled each minute for 8 minutes, graph your data, and connect the points. Then describe the graph. So I kind of went ahead and did this problem and created my table, starting with minutes as my X value and mile as my Y. So for each minute that I went past, I increased my miles by 6. So if in 1 minute I go 6 miles, that means in 2 minutes I'd be going 12, in 3 minutes I'd be going 18, and so on. I then began to create my graph with each point that I could fit, and obviously I have an arrow on my line just showing that it extends up from there. So for this, if I were to describe my line, I would say that my line is positive. Also, it is starting at 0, 0, because if I don't travel at all, that means no time has passed and I haven't gone any distance. But also we want you to recognize that the slope of this line, if I were to find it, is 6 or 6 over 1. So the slope of this line is the same thing as the rate of change that I'm talking about. Because I'm graphing this, I'm saying that for each minute I go, which is my X value, each minute that passes, I've gone 6 more miles. For each minute that passes, I've gone 6 more miles. So my Y value is actually counting by 2, just so I could fit more points. So I went up 246 over 1, up 246 over 1, 246 over 1. So you can see that my slope here is the same thing as my rate of change. So let's take a look at what this would mean for this example. The graph shows the amount you and your friends earn babysitting. Compare the steepness of the lines and what does it mean in the context of the problem. So you'll see that your friend's line is in blue and your line is in green, and your friend's line is steeper than yours is. Now, we talked about how the steeper the line, the greater the slope. So if you have, or your friend has, a steeper line and a greater slope, and what we're talking about is earnings per hour, then what you should realize is that your friend must make more money than you per hour because her line is steeper and her slope is greater. So it all connects to be the same thing. Your slope is your rate of change, and if we put it in the context of a problem, it is giving us information about that. So for part B, find and interpret the slope of the blue line. Remember, we can just pick the points. It's going to be difficult to count in this sense just because you're counting by like a large gap of numbers, but we can plug it into the formula. So I'm going to use this as my y2 minus y1. So I'm going to start by doing 56 minus 28 on top. Let me just make my little line here. And then I'm going to do 8 minus 4 in my denominator. So I did my y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I just go ahead and do that math, 56 minus 28 leaves me with 28. And 8 minus 4 is 4. So that gives me that the slope of this line, or the rate of change, is 28 over 4. If I keep going from there, remember I need to simplify. 28 over 4 is 7. Oops, sorry about that. 7, or 7 over 1. So that means in the context of this problem that my friend makes $7 per hour. Okay, so just notice the connection of the slope here. Now it doesn't say to, but let's just kind of keep going in order to take a look at how much money you make. So we're going to find your slope as well, the slope of the green line. So we're going to do our y2 minus y1. We're going to do 40 minus 20. And we're going to put that over, make my little line here, 8 minus 4. Okay, 40 minus 20 is going to give me 20. And I'm going to put that again over 8 minus 4, which is 4. And then when I simplify that, that is going to give me my slope of 5. So if the slope of my line is 5, and what my slope is giving me, remember y over x is comparing my earnings to my hours, that would mean in real life or in the context of this problem that I make $5 per hour. Let's look at just one more example. It says the cost of admission to the local museum is given in the table. Graph the data and determine the slope. Interpret the slope in the context of the problem. So I kind of started to set up my graph here. Look at the table. We're talking about the number of people X. So I put that on my X-axis, and I'm comparing it to the total cost of admission Y. So I'm going to start by just plotting those points on my coordinate plane. So for X, I'm going to go over 2. And go up to 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. I'm going to put a point right about there. Then the cost of 3 people, go over to 3 on the x coordinate, and then go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 675. We're going to say it's about there. And then the cost of 4 people would be up 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to put my point right here. Now I'm just going to use my tool to kind of help me use the line. And we can put the line all the way through. We're going to just keep it in this first quadrant here because really I'm only going to be dealing with positive values. If I'm comparing the number of people to the total cost, then I'm looking at only positive. I can't have a negative number of people and I can't have a negative cost. Okay, so now if it wants you to find your slope, let's just talk about before we even find it what your slope is giving you. If I'm comparing the number of people to the total cost, then my slope, once I simplify, hopefully you're seeing how it connects to rate of change, is going to give me the cost per person once I simplify it. So you can choose any 2 points. Let's, for argument's sake, just choose this point here as my second one and this point here. Okay, we're going to use the slope formula just because it's a little bit easier than counting on this graph. So we're going to do 9 minus 4.5 or $4.50 because that would be my Y2 and my Y1. And I'm going to put that over 4 minus 2. If I subtract on top, 9 minus 450 is still leaving me with 450. And 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay. Now remember, the last thing we want to do is simplify this. So we're going to want to divide 450 by 2, and that will give me my cost per one person. So that's going to leave me with $2.25 or $2.25 per one person. Okay. So each time you go over 1, you're going up to 25. So we skipped a couple points or the beginning point on the graph, but we can continue from there. This would help us too if I asked you what the cost would be for 8 people, even though our table doesn't go that far, you can do your 225 times 8 to figure out that cost. So hopefully this helps kind of put things in context for you a little bit. Again, we've looked at it in isolation in terms of finding slope and seeing able to count and use the formula, but now we want you to see what the importance of slope is in terms of real life information or using it to solve a word problem.